I'm Marcus Campbell, a poet and author from Mesa, Arizona. And I like art and shit.
Marcus, you are a very young published author. Could you tell us a little bit about your creative process, how you came to this point?
Yeah, like most things in my life, I kind of find, I fall backwards into them. So I just kind of find myself in a place and say, hey, I'll give that a shot, and kind of fall backwards into things. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I left ASU. I was studying to become, I was pre-med. I wanted to become an anesthesiologist. Didn't find that I liked science as much as I thought I would. I thought I was going to get to blow stuff up and, get to have fun in chem lab. Come to find out chem lab is like the worst possible experience for someone with ADHD. It's like everything has rules. Touching a microscope has 101 rules and procedures and protocols to follow. So I immediately figured out that was definitely not going to be the space for me. So I fell into the journalism program first, actually. I thought that would be a good place. I love researching. I try to learn at least one new thing every single day. So I thought that would be a good place to kind of funnel my love of Googling things. And once I started being published as a journalist, I realized that what I really liked was writing. I kind of rekindled that old love that I had. I discovered that I loved sharing it with others a lot. And I loved being the guy writing the thing. I loved being the person putting the magic down on the paper. So then I found Joshua Rathkamp at Mesa Community College, and he was really helpful in pushing me towards poetry and out of nonfiction. So he became my creative writing mentor in a program that I did at Mesa Community College, which was really foundational and really helpful for me. So then I fell in with Brick Cave Media down here in Mesa with Bob, and that's been great. He helped me build that foundation. I actually interned for him first. Didn't even tell him I was a writer myself. I brought in my journalistic stuff, and I didn't bring in any of my own poetry or short fiction or anything like that. And then I showed it to him one day, and he was like, I'd love to publish this. So, here we are with my first book of published poetry. It's a long time in the making. So.
You mentioned that you felt very restricted when you were working in the sciences. Have you found that writing is less restrictive?
Yeah, I think it goes back to one of the first lessons I had in creative writing, it was in a screenwriting class actually, and it was about the difference between restraints and constraints. Science is kind of, at least the practicing of science on a day-to-day basis is built on restraints. Right, there's, assigned parking spots, badges, because there are security concerns, dangerous chemicals. Danger usually leads to restraints, right? Like, things need to be shackled and controlled. Writing has constraints. So the size of my book is chosen by me. It can be printed in a variety of sizes. It could be an art book, it could be tiny, it could be big, it could be large. I could write in verse, I could write sonnets, you could write limericks. You choose your constraints. So I think the difference between constraints and restraints is what drove me towards creativity in general. So it's not that creativity is without rules. In fact, it probably in the long run has more rules than practicing science does in the grand scheme, but they are rules that you create, and that kind of makes them constraints as opposed to restraints.
What are some of the rules that actually really benefit you in your creative writing process?
Okay, so I kind of have some weird ones. I always start with titles. That's just creatively, it puts me thematically and symbolically in the right place that I need to be. I have a tendency to focus in on concrete images and themes and symbols and kind of use those throughout my poems. Another one is I do not use end rhymes. I think end rhymes will be the death knell of poetry if we keep doing it. Kanye killed spoken word poetry and slam poetry when he went on Def Poetry Jam. Poetry will never recover from hip hop. If poetry tries to compete with hip hop, it will lose 99 times out of 100. And I'd rather have 50 more poets. So I do not end rhyme. Poetry that end rhymes will always lose to nursery rhymes and rap. It will always lose, and it loses part of its creative integrity in the process.
It sounds like your writing was heavily influenced by your great-grandmother. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So my great-grandmother wrote a lot of poetry. She wrote a lot of poetry about things that a young, impressionable reader would be really engaged with, right? She wrote poems about animals, she wrote poems about nature, she wrote poems about the beach and playing and things like that. So it helped me to read early. It helped me to think of writing as more than just informational text or novels. So I think it was very instrumental in that way. I think what was more instrumental for me personally was the fact that everybody in my family is an artist in some capacity.
What does it take for you to start your creative process?
My creative process looks a lot like an acid test. I'm ADHD as all get out. So I think a lot of writers prefer a quiet room, quiet space. I I almost prefer a room full of people and music. I have at concerts pulled out my phone and written while an active concert is going on at a festival while people are sweating up against me. It is not uncommon for me to do that. I will also manufacture little acid tests in my home, like I was saying. So I'll have TVs going, I'll have different materials all around, different little things to play with and fidget with and crunch with. A lot of whiteboards, a lot of sticky notes, a lot of disparate notes in a lot of different digital spaces. Evernote over here, OneNote over there, iPhone note over there.
Do you ever struggle having so many ideas spread out, being able to bring them back together?
I don't struggle with bringing them back together because what happens is as I'm finishing ideas, I work on multiple things simultaneously. As I'm finishing things, other things start to finish alongside them and things start to overlap. So poems that I didn't have a home for become AI art poems that end up on the back of cards. The most important part is that I stay writing and that I stay moving forward, and then things kind of finish themselves. As long as you listen to your muse, art has a way of finishing itself. Art needs to be finished. It needs to be seen. Ideas have to be known. So they will be known, regardless of if it's through me or somebody else. I think what I'm afraid of is that I won't be the person who gets to deliver those ideas because I'm busy with other ideas.
Would you describe yourself as an organized writer?
The writing itself, very unorganized. If I'm writing on a whiteboard and I feel like something needs to go on a Post-it, I do that. If I'm writing on a Post-it and I feel like for some reason I should do a voice note, I do that. If I want to finish a sentence in the bathroom and start it hanging upside down on my porch, I do that. Immediately afterward, though, I start organizing it to hell and back. Like, I have folders inside of folders inside of folders. Every edit of a poem gets a save as. So every time I do a round of edits on a poem, it gets save as. So there's a new version. So I'll end up with 20, 25 versions of a poem by the time I'm done with it. If it's a heavily workshop poem, not all of them are. Some of them get one edit and then I'm done with it and I don't want to ever see it again. But yeah, so I would consider myself an organized writer at the moment the creative process ends and the production process ends.
It sounds like your book has really touched a lot of lives here, especially in Arizona. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so My Identity as a Stereotypical Side Character is about race, mental health, and addiction all funneled through the lens of identity. So what I did with this book was I tried to work through some things that I needed to work through and profess things that I needed to profess for my own well-being and make it art on the other side. And what I was finding was as I was reading these things in class and in workshop environments, not only was it getting more artistic with each try, but readers themselves were getting a lot out of it. So if I can get that response out of workshop classes, then I felt confidently that I could get that response from reading in the public.
I'm a ghetto blasting ratchet hood bastard with a boombox shouldered like a bazooka to tip parental advisories like rockets right toward Tipper Gore. Tarzan, ignorant ape man with a 40 in a brown bag, a posted up porch monkey waiting to catcall Mary Jane. King Kong with a magnum on, and I'm looking for white women. I'm the savage and the slave in your lit teacher's core curriculum, the shadows and the jungle in the heart of darkness, the spear chucker Jones in this mashup. A smooth jazz cat with a conch coming for your suburb, one Rillo ride round your corner. I am the probable cause, a right to detain, armed with 4 wire wheels rolling low and slow, a broken brake light leading to a pat down, looking for 25 to life tucked in my waist or taped to my taint, the constant current of violence from sound bites of newscasts, a threat strapped with a hoodie, Arizona iced tea, and a knot of knotted hair, the token little rascal who learned he wore his master's name as he learned his place, comic relief, thug, militant youth, hood rat, like call-outs from children's toys, a mouse's squeak, a pig's squeal, a mixed cow still saying moo.
It's a double-sided book. It's actually 2 books. So just for the sake of, just to ruin continuity and piss everybody off, there's the other side of my book. So there's actually poetry and some short stories that deal with my life and my mother's cancer diagnosis and my family fosters at-risk youth. So it deals with, the short stories deal with them, and the front side deals with kind of my own struggles.
What advice would you give yourself back when you were being a child just getting into writing?
I think the advice I would give my young self is the advice I would give any other poet, any other artist, period. Just go do it. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's acceptance. You don't need anyone to like anything. Just do what you like, do what you do until other people start listening.
So Marcus, you got any post-it notes going up for your next book?
Yeah, absolutely. So my next poetry manuscript, it already has a title, Masculinity in the American West. I'm kind of incorporating some elements of a trail book. So it's mainly focusing in on masculinity with this side theme of travel, just because I like to add little motifs and little themes to things as I go. But my next book is Masculinity in the American West, and I'm also working on using AI-generated art to facilitate poetry because I think it's fun. So that will probably be more of a merch idea and less of a kind of hardened bound manuscript idea. So I got Masculinity in the American West and something with using lines from my poems to make AI-generated art, which has netted some really trippy results.